Hi and welcome. I'm Sanjana Subramanian. I'm a master's student at California State University, San Marcos. I've interned previously in Indian Institute of Science, Livewire, ProSquare, Infotech. So today, in this presentation, I'm going to talk about Android application development. So I'm gonna go through the introduction of what is Android application development and a guide on Android Studio and how we could design and develop an Android application. So first is what is Android? So it's a very common word. So an Android is a mobile operating system which was developed by Google. So it was basically a modified version of Linux kernel. So it was primarily designed for touchscreen mobile devices such as tablets, smartphones, etc. So now we have the latest version of the Android to be 10.0, which is also called as the Android Q, and the current version would be set to release on June 3rd, 2020. So this is the architecture of an Android. And then here we could see at the low level, we have or at the basic bottom level, you could see that we have something called as the Linux kernel. Since it's like the based on the Linux operating system, we have the Linux kernel. Inside this Linux kernel, we have display drivers, camera driver, flash, Wi-Fi, audio, etc. So after on top of this Linux kernel, we have the libraries, and inside the libraries we have something called as Surface Manager, Media Framework, SQLite, OpenGL. So these libraries are for example, if you want to take SQLite, it's like a database for if you want to make an Android application and you want to store the data locally in your in the phone. So we use SQLite. So if you use SQLite, the data will be locally stored in the Android device. So those are the libraries which you can import on and build an application. The next one would be the runtime, which has the core libraries and Dalvik virtual machine, which is very similar to whatever we have as in Java virtual machines and stuff. So after that, we have the application framework. So this framework includes activities, window, and whatever content you want to manage, those content managers and view systems. And on top of that, we have the application of the Android device. So whichever application you're building. So for example, here we have the home, contacts, phone, and browser. It can also be your application, whichever app you're designing to, for example, Facebook or anything, something, any application which would physically run on the Android mobile platform. So the features of Android here are it is a very powerful open source thing, and then after that, it has a very customizable operating system, and it can have a different variety of apps which we can develop with the Android. And then it definitely reduces the complexity of your program, and at last, we have a ready made, and which is low cost, and which also has great features in the app. So the next thing is, so now we are going into the Android Studio. So in the Android Studio is nothing but a platform for you to develop the Android applications. So here you have four major components which are being considered. It would be the activity, service, broadcast receiver, and content manager. So in the activity, we could see it has a screen which has all the UI contents inside it. Uh, and then after that, we have the services, which is the background component, which runs in the background. So, if, for example, you want to do 1 plus 2, the 1 plus 2 interface would be the activity, and in the background, it computes 1 plus 2 is equal to 3, and it has to display in front, which would go to activity. So then we have the broadcast receiver. This will receive whatever event, and then it processes things. And the last thing would be the content provider, which is the database. So let's go through, an example of an alarm to have a better understanding of the four different components of Android Studio. So here you have an alarm app in your Android device. So here you could see that the UI of how the user can set the alarm. So you have an interface that you want to set an alarm at so and so date tomorrow. So that's the UI interface which you could see, and those are the ones which are inside the activity. The next thing, as I said, would be the content provider. Here, the data saved is somewhere about the time. So and the next thing would be the service. So, what exact time the alarm should ring? So, this would be the service. Like it would be checking with the current time of your device, and once the exact time matches, it needs to ring. So once if it needs to ring, it has to broadcast it, right? So now the broadcast receiver will handle the event. So this will do when to ring or when to notify the user. So now we go on to the installation of the Android Studio. So you have to go to this link, which is the developer.android.com/studio. And once you go there, it's a very simple process. You Once you click on that, you get a screen something like this, and then you just have to click on you could read the terms and conditions of this, and then you could click on download Android Studios for Windows, and if you wanted for Mac, you could do the same. And then after that, once you click on the download, you need to run this exe file, and you just click on the next, which would be the default. We also need the Android virtual device because if you can always connect your laptop with your phone and try to run your application, but the virtual device will have an emulator where you could run your Android devices without using any of your Android phones. So you're doing everything in a single piece or in your laptop. So the next thing would be, after once you click on that, you need to set the location where you want this Android Studio to be there. So usually it would be in the C programming files in Android Studio. This would be the default one. If you want to change it, you're free to change wherever you want. But whatever location you are going to keep, it should have at least 500 MB of free space. So then after once you are done with setting up the location, you could click on next. And once you click on next, you have this window which has been which the next um, what is this dialog box. So then here these are all default. We just need the Android Studio, and you just click on install. You don't have to go through everything of this. It just needs the Android Studio, and once you click on install, uh, you will get the completed step, and once the completed, you just finish it. You could start the Android Studio once you want to complete, or you could just close it and open the app. So now, once we have the Android Studio installed, we now have to open and start coding. So how do you open this? So if once you double click on, once you start running it, you have a pop up screen like this where you have start a new Android project. You could open an existing one. You want to get a version control and etc. So we want to start our Android Studio project. So once you click on that, you get this next screen which says create new project. So here you can see that there are different types of layout or different types of activities which are being defaultly given by the Android Studio. We basically if you want to develop an app, you go for an empty activity because you want to customize it according to the way you want, and you could put anything in it. But you can also try with the basic activity and bottom navigation and maps, etc. If your app consists of this, if your app idea has these, bottom navigation, then you could go with this and then customize it further. So, but usually people go with the empty activity because you could, learn everything from scratch and you could customize it the way you want. So once you have your activity set, you click on the next button. So then you need to configure your project. So this Android Studio or the Android, if you want to develop an Android application, it's mostly with Kotlin or Java. So in that case, the name of your file should always start with the capital letter and followed by the characters. You cannot start with a number or a smaller alphabet. So it can also have underscores and stuff, but the first thing should be a capital letter. As you can see, there is demo. D is capital in the name. Then once you do that, the package name changes accordingly. You don't have to explicitly change, but you can always change the package name as to whatever you want. You could just put com dot whatever package name you wish to have, and then after that, you have to save it. You could save wherever you want. In my case, I've saved it in the Android Studio projects. And inside that, you could just go with demo and you could save it. And once in this language, you have two options. You either have Kotlin or you have Java. This is a sample one, so I've chosen Kotlin. You can always take whichever language you're comfortable with. And then you have the minimum SDK. Here you can choose a bunch of Android devices. You have many different versions such as KitKat, Oreo, Marshmallow, Jelly Bean. So the more older version you go, you could see that it runs on 99.8% of the devices. So if you go for a more advanced one, then your app would be only specific to devices which are from Marshmallow and above. So the same way, you could choose any of the option whichever is feasible for you. And I generally go with Jelly Bean because it would go with 99.8% of the devices. So that should be it. Maybe if you go for an IO version, there are some updates which are which are minor, but if you want to use a better version of SDK, you can always choose that. And once you have your SDK set up, you click on finish. So then you have your then you go into the Android Studio IDE and you could start coding. So once you're inside it, on your left side, you could see a screen something like this, which has app, main fest, Java, resources. RES is nothing but the resource directory, and then the Gradle scripts. So here, so first thing is you have something called as manifests. Here you have Android manifest.xml. Here you could see that it will describe the fundamental characteristics of the app. So it will define each of its component. So in here you could set your app icon. For example, you have the home screen where you take WhatsApp, you have the WhatsApp logo, right? Before even going inside the WhatsApp, so you could put the icon here, but for that you need to reference it from the res folder, which is the resources. So you put all the icons and images, everything inside this drawable folder. And what you do is in the Android mainfest .xml, you declare it that, hey, you need to take the icon from this folder, and then it does its job. So it has the name of your application, the icon. So it has all the fundamental characteristics. So the next thing would be the Java. So here you could code of here you could code your entire Android application. So in this case, we are using Java, and here you mainly use this one. We do not go with the test. Maybe that's for the testing purposes. So you go here. This contains all the .java files, and basically by default they have main activity Java. So the next thing would be the res, which is the resources. Here it has all the user interface for your app. So here in the layouts thing, you have activity main.xml, which would be again the default UI. So inside layouts, you could see all the user interface of all of collectively of all your screens of your application. Then in the values, you could declare some of the constant strings, or you could put the colors. You could define the colors instead of every time there are some color codes which are like 0 F A B 5. So instead of doing those, instead of you know uh, typing those colors in the Java file and then trying to do, you could just declare all the colors and the values. You could just say this so and so is red color, so and so is blue, and you could just take it and put them in the layout. So then the next thing is the Gradle script. So this will be an auto-generated file which has all the compiled SDK version, build tools version, etc. So in the Gradle script, you should you should be very careful when you wanna it usually has all the dependencies. For example, there are some dependencies which we take from Google services. If you want to add a Google Maps, you need to get the services as GPS and stuff. So this Gradle file, you just have to add it. Be very careful while using this Gradle script, because if you mess this thing up, your entire application might crash up and it might not work. So it's mostly very simple. It just has one or two lines if you want to add anything, but you should be very careful while adding anything in the Gradle script. So the next thing is the basic structure. Here you have the activity, which is again the user interface, and it will have all the layouts, which the layouts are inside the resource file. These layouts are written in XML. So this is all extended markable language. And the next thing would be the layout will have arrangement of views. So in layout, you have something called as a relative view, constrained view. So we would so in that case, relative linear view would be like mostly like either horizontal or vertical. So it would just be a straight linear view. Relative view, whereas you could play around, you could move places anywhere you want, you could put it anywhere you want. Constraint view is that it has certain constraints, that it has to be below this button, or it has to be below this image, and it should be in the center. So it's like more constrained. So the layouts will have the arrangement of views, and then we place whatever the layouts is there would be inside the activity. So then we have the package. So the package, as you said, com.example.demo, which you could see, which is a unique identifier. So once you have, when we search in Play Store, this would be a unique identifier. Then you have the resources in lowercase, such as layout. So all the, as you can see in here, .java would again have a main activity M capital, but here anything inside resources would have everything in lower cases. And then the next thing is, now we want to, now you built your application, you want to put it into the app store. So how you do that? So you just have to go to Google, and then you go to the Play Store. You could see here that you have to you could see the screen like this. So they have certain steps. They have 8 steps over here. So one thing is, you go to you open the play console, and then inside the play console, you could see that there is all apps, and then inside that all apps you create an app. So you create a default language, and you need to add a title for your application. Then you type the name for your application, and then whichever you want to be appeared in the Google Play. You can always change this later if you wish to. Then you have to specify whether your app is a game, or it is it just an application. Again, you always have the freedom to change it. And if you want your application to be free or paid, you could specify that. And then after you're done with this, you add an email address that Play Store, you add an email address that Play Store users can use uh, to contact you regarding your application. Then once you're done with that, you have to complete the content guideline and the US export law declaration. And then you just select create app. In this video, we're going to talk about how to create a simple Android application. So we are going to build a simple Android app using Android Studio. So here you can see, once you download your Android Studio from Google and you install it to your PC, you have this screen which says welcome to Android Studio. And then once you get this, you click on start a new Android Studio project. So here you can see that there are many different default templates which are being given. Here you have a basic activity, bottom navigation activity, etc. So if you can click on the Google Map activity, it by default can have the Google Map features. Also, like for example, login activity, it by default has all the login features. You could still edit it and add more content to it, but most preferably most developers would go with the empty activity, because you could customize it as to whatever way you want. It's not that you can't customize it, but empty activity kind of gives scope to your scope to learning everything, and then it's more easier and feasible to work on empty activity. So once you choose your template, you click on next. So here you need to add a name for your project. Consider if your app is Facebook, like for example, you just put Facebook. This would be the name of the app. You can always change the name later, but right now I'm just gonna go with simple app. And since this is a Java project, I think we have to have the capital alphabet for the first one, followed by the characters or numbers, or the special characters such as underscore. Maybe you could put it here. So once you have it, so then you have the package name, which you don't want to edit anything, it's by default. And then you could save it as to whichever location you want. I have put it to the desktop and then mobile, and just the name of this. you can always click on this and then browse your options as to where you want to save your project. And once you are done with your location, you can choose the language you want. You have Kotlin and Java. Here I'm gonna go with Java, and then after that you have the minimum SDK. By default, you can here probably it has, like, if you click on Jelly Bean, it would be running on 99.8% of the devices, and then if you go to Android 10, it just works with 8% of the device. So you could just try whichever you want. So we are doing a basic application, so I would go with Jelly Bean. Usually I think even like Lollipop would also be fine because it goes with 94% of the Android devices. So once you choose the minimum SDK, then you just click on finish. So once you finish, you get the screen where you have Android app, and then there's manifests. So here, if you could see inside the manifest, okay, just give me one second. Yeah. So here you could see that there is Android manifest.xml. Since the label is sample app, you can always name it to whatever you want. Here you could see it's like add string app name. So add string is present in the resources file, and then you go to values. Here you could see strings. So string app name, here your application name is sample app. So let's try to build a math application where it adds two numbers. So here you can see uh, math space sum, or math sum should be fine. So this would be your application name, and also it has like the styles which is there, and there is colors. So here you could change whichever color you want. You could add the code. So here you could see, once you click on this, you can always change whichever default color you want, or you could just move this around and then you know edit the colors you want. Once you have those, then you have a layout here as the activity main. This would be your user interface, and whichever app you're developing. Here you can see that behind it's all XML, where you have the code, and you can also split it, or you can see your screen how it would be, as well as code it on the side. Also you have the design if you want to look into the design. And then you go to the main activity, which I think it would be the backend, as to what functionalities your Android app could have. So here we are doing the user interface as well as the backend, a simple application. So here I'm gonna go with this, and then this would be the UI, and this would be the backend. So here, once you click on the activity, and also the drawable has all the images which you want to store. So for example, in my case, I think, let's see, uh, I've already downloaded an image. So I just copied that image, and then I want to place it in the drawable. I want to paste it. So I just put Control C and Control V, or you can just go click on paste. Here you just click on this and then click OK. So you can name, after this you can name whatever name you want, and then press OK. So here you can see the math picture is right here. So after that, we so in this app, I think we are gonna put the image. There would be a text and two text views and a button. So once you click on the button, you would it would compute the addition of two numbers, which is very simple, and then it would display the result. So let's start going on working on that. we are gonna build our application. In Android Studio, once you have the user interface, which is the activity main, you have constraint layout. In this case, you also have many different layouts where you have the linear layout, which has like the horizontal view or the vertical one. So if you place the constraint layout with, or I'm putting the linear layout inside the constraint layout, so all your whatever is coming, whatever you're gonna elements you're gonna put inside this linear layout would be linear. But in constraint layout, you could actually play with it, and also even in the relative layouts. So here you can see in the constraint layout, there's a default. By default, we have hello world. So maybe I'm gonna change it to um, welcome to the welcome to the math app. So this would be our text. And then now I want to insert an image here. So what I do is I go to the image view, just drag and I drop it over here. So I'm going to choose this math, which is there in the drawable folder. You can also, these are the basic ones which are there, and then you just click on OK. So here you can see the image is slightly off. So what we do is here the constraints. So here when you click on layout width, we want to match it to the parent. So I just put match parent, and then the height from there will give 500. One of the 500 pixels, and then you can just pull this and then drop it over here, and you click on these two. Since it is matching the parent, match parent means it matches the border, so it just so the width of this would be matching to the entire screen of the mobile. And then once you're done, we just move this over here. So now we need the text, which, or we need the input from the user, whoever wants to use this app. So we go to text, and here you can see we need a number. You also have many different things like plain text, password, phone number. So we need the number here. So I just drag and drop this over here. We need two numbers, right? So I'm just gonna drag and drop two things, two inputs, which will be the edit text. uh, and then after that you have so now I need to after this I need to display the result. So I'm just gonna go with the text view, which would be here. And after that I need a button, which once you click on this button, the result should be seen in this text view. So you could input any number here and here, and once you click on this button, it should display the result. So now let's edit this further. First we need, let's constrain this in the right way. So I'm just gonna constrain it like this. So this one is constrained between the parent and as well as the text here. So even if I have to move this one, it moves along with it. So let's move it little bit above, and then this one would be constrained to that, and this one will be constrained to this, and this one would be, maybe I can put it to here, no problem. There you go. And then we have the text view, which is very small here. Just, I'm just gonna move this around. So I'm just gonna pull this down a little bit down, a little bit above. So this is the advantage of having a constraint layout. You can always move your things around. So I'm just constraining it based on the above and the matching the parent. I'm just constraining it together. Instead, if you don't want to do this, you could go with the relative layout. Would be also similar to this. Yeah, I think this looks good now. So now let's edit certain features in this. So I just go to the split. So I'm just going to the split so you could see it changing, once you edit it, it would be changed here. So when we are going to this text view, I think it is very small, so we could add the size. We could, increase the font size of it. So I just put text size, and I'm gonna go with 50. Um, Maybe like 500 pixels. Sorry, 550. Um, so let's see how big it is. It's not that big. Let's try another one. Oh, I'm changing it in the image view. That's why it's not changing. Or let's see. Oh, okay. So let's increase this one right here. A little bit. 50, I think is too much. Let's just do 20 for now and then see what it will do. So the thing is, we just have to trial. Okay, this sounds pretty. This is pretty recent. Um, so I think in this thing, 30 dp would be perfect. So then now let's try to analyze this XML file. So here you can see the text view, which is this would be the text view. So once you click on this, it directly directs it to whichever it is. So we click on this. Here you could see that this is called as text view. So instead, I want to name it to let's see, welcome. This is important because oh, uh, if you change this one, this is being constrained to this ID. So again, you need to change wherever the text view ID is. So it again gets confused. So that's why you could see it change. So I think I would just let it be like this because I need to change many more variables here. But if you ever want to change that one, I think you need to make sure that you're changing it here. So this is a country layout. So it's like the bottom top of the text view. So that's why it changes. And then you click on the image view. There is edit text. So we could change this one. We could just do number 1 because that's the first one. Then we do number 2. So this is the bottom of number 2. So we just have to change this to this. So it doesn't move. So that's right. And then so this would be the number 1 and this would be number 2. I think I'm just gonna go with num 2 here. After that, there is text view. By by default, we would change it to. Okay, that's fine. I think we would do result. Result would be easy. So after that, button should be fine because there's only one button. This would be the default text. So I would say and then the button I'd change it to result. The name of the button here, it was named button, so I'm changing it to result. So once you're done with your user interface, you go to the main activity, the Java, the dot file. So we have to declare a variable here, and I'm gonna declare a private variable because I don't want the other classes to access this one. So I'm just gonna go with private. Um, so we have the edit text, right, which is right here. So these two are the edit text. So this would be the text view, and this would be the button. So these are the four things which we wanna refer here. So we have the edit text, which is the first one, number one, and we also have the second one. So this would be the second number. After this, we have a text view. So we have private. That's the text view, which is gonna show the result, and then we have the button. So let's say add. So if sometimes this button would show a red mark here like this, which means that you just have to import this thing. So once you go move your cursor around, you can see that you have to click on Alt Enter, and it would by default import the class. So you click on this, it imported the class. So once we have declared all the numbers here, we go to the main class here, and then now we need to access that particular these are just the variables, so we need to access it from the activity main and then try to run it here, right? So what I do is we have the first number, which is equal to, this is the edit text, and then find view by id. So as you can see here, this would be the id, right? So we have the edit text ID as in num1. So edit view ID, we put r dot id dot in num1. This will be the first one, and then let's do the same for the second number. So after this, we are again going to access the button and also the text view. So here you can see the text view would be the result. We put text view, find view by ID. So let's see what we named it for the result. This would be the result. We named it as a result, and for the button, it's a button. So result. Okay. So once we have this, we need to do the so we got the whatever information is here. So now you have to click on this button, and then there should be some action which has to be performed. So for this clicking button, what action it has to perform, we do add dot, we are setting an on click listener, and then as you can see, it defaultly gives the view dot on click listener, and then it just completes it. And then after this, on your on click listener, now we have an int, um, let's say first number is equal to the first number dot, we are getting the text from this is like input, whichever input we are getting, and we are converting it to string. And since we want it to be converted to the integer, we just do integer dot parse int, and then this goes inside it. So whatever input we are getting, we are converting it is usually in the string format. So we need to change it to the integer. So that's why we are int dot parse int. And after that we do the same for the second one. So I'm just gonna do second number is equal to integer dot parse int, the second num2 dot get text dot to string. So now I just do int, there is a sum which is equal to first number plus second number. Now we need to display it in the text view, right? We have the result here which has to be displayed, the answer here. So what we do is we do result dot set text, then answer is string the value of the sum. So that's gonna, whatever integer thing is gonna be the string, we are just gonna convert that to a string, and that's gonna display it as such. So let's try running this thing. So by default I already have certain emulators which are being here, but if you don't have this is the first time, you just click on tools, AVD manager, and then you just click on create virtual device, and you can choose whichever you want, and then click on next, and finish. It's just gonna download, and then you get something like this, and then you just click on the whichever you want. So I'm just gonna go with the one which I have here. Just click on play. So it has been installed successfully. So this is gonna take a little time for it to run. So once it installed, and then after a while you get the screen whichever you have tried doing it over here. So let's check that. I think you just have to give it a minute. I think here it's kind of getting slow. Sometimes if it crashes, maybe you could pause and then you could run it again. It's gonna wait another 30 seconds. If it's not showing up, then I'll try it again. Okay, yeah, that's it. So as you can see, the math sum, whatever name we gave, that would be our app name, and our image is displaying. And then just click on this, and let's see. I'm just gonna do 20. And for the next one, I'm just going to do 10. So you click on result, the answer is 30. I think I misspelled the result, but yeah, I just have to change this. So then I click on this one. So as you can see, we have successfully finished creating a simple Android app which calculates the sum of two numbers. No, let's try multiple things, maybe like 6. Result. So you have
Thank you for watching. For details, visit www.designyourcareers.org or send an email to info@designyourcareers.org. Subscribe to our channel, Design Your Careers, and hit the bell icon so you'll never miss a video.